Hello, everyone, and welcome to DroneNation episode 24. We titled this one, Al Duran is back tonight with us. Al will be joining us in a couple minutes from his fortress in Virginia. He's been up to a lot lately, so we'll have a lot to talk about tonight. And in the second half of the show, around about 9:30, John Cuppi is going to join us for a little FPV talk. We're going to focus on the what the price of the new DJI FPV drone will be. John and Lauren had quite a good conversation on the DroneNation Facebook page last week, and I don't think Lauren's going to make it tonight, but John will. Marcus has something he wants to bring up.
Well, Al's camera is live, Ron.
Oh.
So just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Well, he was almost not here for a few minutes.
He wasn't in the green room.
Yeah. Al's in the green room now enjoying the trip backstage. But we got a big show for you tonight, and I put a couple other things in the chat just real fast. We're still running the Drone of the Year contest. You can vote over in the DroneNation Facebook group. I know the Air 2 is still in a bit of a landslide there, but we got some tight competition for the number 2. So we'll try to talk about that later in the show tonight. And I do have some good news. I did get my Mini 2 did fly back to me from DJI. So we'll talk about that for a few minutes tonight. I won't take away from the guests. I have a video out on unboxing of the new one. Notice a little bitty box in it, but I have an unboxing on my channel, Ron Brown. So if you want to see it over there, we'll try to talk a few minutes about it tonight. But I'm going to throw it over to Marcus and see what he's been up to lately, outside of snow plowing the driveway.
Yeah, I did. We had enough snow today that I was able to get the ATV out and scrape the driveway. And of all days, I was getting a couple of windows put in the house, and the 2 biggest windows in my house, and they had them both out in the middle of the snowstorm, but they got them in. So that was good. But while they were doing that, I took my ATV and I scraped all the snow off of the drive and did my neighbors while I was at it. But
I saw a couple of comments that said you should have had the Skydio out there following you along.
Well, obviously the Skydio is not to be flown in inclement weather. They make that very, very clear now. But to your point, I have done that. I did it one year with the Mavic 2 Zoom. I put it up above, pointed it down, put it on a time lapse, and it was snowing. And the drone got a little bit wet, but it wasn't too bad. It worked out pretty good. But to your point, Ron, it's all about the drones, right? So Saturday, we had a blue sky day. I mean, it was cold out. I don't think it got above 36 degrees all day. But I said to myself, Self, you better get out and fly a drone because the snow's coming and it's time to get it done. So I just went over to the schoolyard next door and took the Mavic Air 2. And you know what, Ron, I just had a blast. It's just fun to get a drone in the air. It's just always fun.
So you had the drone of the leading candidate for drone of the year out there.
I did, and I was using the smart controller, and the smart controller worked well, and it was all good. That smart controller, like I said, it was a fairly bright day because it was just a blue sky day, and that's just not an issue with the smart controller. It's such a pleasure to be able to see FPV real good and see what you're doing. So, and that thing is a heck of. I took some, Ron. I'm learning from you as I go. I took some pictures with it, and it's just amazing the photography that drone is capable of. So anyway, it's all about drones and having fun.
Real quick, we may never get back to it again, but what's running second and third place in the Drone of the Year contest next to the Air? Do you know off the top of your head? I hate to have you scrambling here to the website.
Yeah, I'm going to do it, Ron.
I think I saw a surge in the Air too recently. While you're looking for that, I'm going to run down the chat here real fast, Mark. Oh, okay. You got it already?
I'm ready. So
go ahead. You do your election results. We gave Johnny the night off.
Yeah, so this is all DJI all the time. The first and second place. So, of course, the Mavic Air 2 with 44 votes. And the Mini 2 is right behind it with 6 votes. which, as you would expect, both of those are amazing drones. Now, the one to me that's the dark horse here that surprises me in third place is the Hubsan Xeno 2 with 5 votes. It just blows my mind. And then tied in third place is the Autel Evo 2, which, yeah, it should be at least. And then right behind that is the Skydio 2 with 4 votes. So,
well, it's a strong field in that top tier there. They're all good drones.
They're all good drones. I don't know.
Now,
I'd include the Xeno 2 quite that high, but that's just me.
How's the V-Copter doing?
Yeah, the V-Copter is not. Yeah, not it. Well, let me. Is it even? Did we even put it on here? Yeah, not a single vote.
The product actually has to ship to be in competition, right?
Hey, no, you're gonna love this though. The Seafly Dream has 1 vote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, by Tracy, of course.
We got a new writing candidate, huh?
Yeah.
And, speaking of Seafly, real quick, I put the specs in the DroneNation Facebook page. I got these specs directly from our source at Seafly. What's the lady's name?
Well, her name is Tracy, but
Tracy.
She's the one that voted for this. But this is funny. I'm just looking down this list. She added it in there 3 times. So the Seafly Dream, Seafly Faith, Seafly Dream, and Seafly Faith 2. So I guess they are 3 different drones. But she voted for every one of them and added them all in there.
Okay, well, she supported us. We get her to show someday, but she put the specs of the new Faith 2 up, and I posted the DroneNation site. So anybody wants to check the specs out, they're quite impressive. And people have been asking about the price of the Seafly Faith 2, which I do not know yet. So please, Tracy, if you could post maybe the price when you get it. Usually we always say we're just talking what we hear, but Tracy actually is like a director of marketing or something. So we actually do have a source on this story. But we'll get more into the Seafly maybe in another show or later on if anybody has any interest. But I'm going to bring Al in just a second. I'll run down the chat first, and then we're going to bring Al. Al's he's in the green room. He's almost finished his shrimp, so we'll give him another minute or two. Okay, in the chat time, we got Bob Casey. I'm going in order. Bob Casey was the first one, and thanks, Bob, for posting the link to our show in the Grumpy Vlogger show tonight in the chat. Mid Valley Drones, thanks for the T-shirts. Bob Casey, Sam Burns, Johnny Dronefly, Greg Pittman, Captain Ray Kelly. Let's see here. Sam Burns, Stephen Ewing, all the way from Maryland. Thomas Baker, Rich Flyer 32, Patrick Sutton, JSK Kenterprise, Bill from Metro Drones, FSU grad. FSU grad DeMarco Moore, who will be the guest next week on episode 25 on DroneNation. So don't miss it. The return of DeMarco Moore, the man who practically launched the Xeno 1 when he had 2 of them. I think I've got most of it. I know Quadcopter, place it here. Fly Zone Drone Quadcopters. Check their show out on Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Curtis Dart's in the house. Chris Hope. Larry O. Did I miss anybody, Marcus?
Did you get John Cuppi?
John Cuppi, I haven't got to him yet. Arco Drones.
Sam Burns.
Hot Rod and Daytona got Sam Burns, I think, twice.
Greg Pittman. Blue Sky.
Pittman.
Ray Kelly. What about Captain Ray?
We got Captain Ray. We didn't get Lauren Donner yet. He's in here with us.
Yeah, Lauren's in here. Johnny Dronefire, Canadian Drone Hub, Roger.
Oh, Treetop Flyer, which is our friend from Chicago who's changed the channel name a couple times.
Yeah.
Canadian Drone Hub.
Hey, what about Ted Bowman? He's saying, what about me, Ron?
Oh, Dr. Ted. Well, see, I started at the top, Dr. Ted. You were a little bit late today, but that's okay. You've been out filming some beautiful drone videos, so you probably just got in. Okay, so I think we're pretty caught up now. So with no further ado, we're going to bring in all the way from Virginia, Al Duran. Hello, Al. We didn't expect some clap.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Al, what did you think of that Caesar salad in the green room? Not bad, huh?
Yeah, Ron could definitely make a good salad, buddy. Here's to you.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't anyway. I cater all that stuff. And the wine's pretty good too. I supply, right?
Yeah. Whispering Angel from Costco. Don't forget that name.
Only the best for our guests. Only the best for our guests.
Yeah, thanks.
Imported all the way from Costco. So, Al, how are you? Catch us up on what's been going on and what you're flying and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? I know that I guess about 3 to 4 months back, Marcus said he was probably the last guy on the planet to receive this FPV X8 SE 2020. Well, I'm sorry to inform you, Marcus. It was me. I just got it. It came on a slow boat from China. And that's why you guys are seeing a lot of the X8 SE 2020 edition videos that I've been putting out. And so that's kind of been my focus, working on this guy here. Let's see if we can get it to focus. Yeah, this guy here. We all know this too well. We cut our teeth on this one, right, guys?
Oh boy, no
That's
kidding.
the original 2008.
Yeah, this is the 2020 edition.
Oh, you had the 2008, right? You had a famous crash with it.
I can get that for you. It looks a little bit more beat up, if you know what I mean.
we won't make you walk. We've all seen the video where you practically reconstructed the whole thing with parts.
Yeah, and then I crashed it again 2 more times, and lately I've been having problems calibrating the gimbal correctly. So I've just been using it as a donor drone or touch drone for everything else. So if you guys need your FPV X8 SEs fixed, let me know.
You're the man, man.
Or if you guys have a spare FPV X8 SE that's broken, all apart, man, send it my way. I'll be able to troubleshoot it and maybe make one good one out of 2 bad ones. So, So that's the story. I've been working on this guy, and also, we always tend to forget about these value drones, right? And a lot of people in the world like these drones because of the fact that they don't have to pay those high taxes because they're being imported in South America a lot cheaper than they are here in North America, right? So I had recently had somebody from Venezuela contact me and say, hey, I've been saving for about 6 months to buy the Xeno. And, I was thinking about trying to talk them out of it and just say, get the Mini is a better price, better deal. But then I started thinking, the Mavic product line there is probably really expensive. And so he wanted me to purchase this for him. So I said, I'll be glad to do it because, there was nothing of what he told me that I was at risk of losing money or anything because he was just going to give me his Amazon gift card, the number and all to enter and buy it. And then his cousin or somebody was in the United States and I was just going to mail it to him and do the handoff. You know what I mean? And he was going to fly it home. But as it turned out, he sold his laptop and something else and his TV, and he bought the Xeno Pro Plus. So it's an amazing story. And this guy communicates with me in Spanish because he knows I speak Spanish. And he keeps on me all the time. You got to do a video in Spanish. And I'm like, my Spanish is not business Spanish, man. It was like, 10-year-old Spanish, But, I think I'm going to commit one day and just do the whole thing in Spanish and do the and see how it goes. I mean, Latin America is a big market for these kind of products right here.
I didn't realize that.
Well, to your point, a lot of countries have what they call a value-added tax, and so it adds a lot to the cost of the products that they get. And the thing is, it's kind of difficult to ship something even. So, for instance, even if you buy something and then ship it to somebody in a foreign country, it's still, when it gets through their customs, that value added tax gets added onto it. So it's really tough to get around it. And it sounds like
the only way to get, sorry to interrupt Marcus, to get excited to give you an answer. The only way to get around it is have a, they have a bunch of declarations like sales tax that you have to include in it. So if you get somebody to write it up for less for the amount that it actually costs,
or
then,
call it a gift.
Yeah, or call it a gift, and that's how they would get taxed on it. But if somebody's just putting it in their bag and carrying it at home, that's a different story. So that you could bring in, right? And if I was them, which we're going to talk about later, right? I would buy a lot of these little suckers, man.
What? Oh, that's an FPV drone.
Yeah, this is the tiny little things, man. These things are so much fun to fly. And I know John is going to be on here later. And this is the Tiny Hawk 2 versus the Tiny Hawk 1. So I'm moving into this world next, guys. So I'm already there. I've been flying 3 to 4 batteries a day. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of crashes. I almost lost this a few times.
Al, it's just a foreign language to me and Ron.
Yeah, no, it really is a tough gig, man. Because
isn't that right, John Cuppi?
John, I'm sure we'll discuss this at in depth, right? But yeah, I mean, once you put on these things on your head and you start flying, it's like, okay, I can see it where it's at. You know what I mean? All right, the best thing I can tell you is this. Just find a location that you've memorized all the surrounding objects around you. Because as you're flying around, you go, oh, I know where that tree is. I know where that rock is. And now I know where the drone is. So now I can do this, right? And so, because you're not used to reading all your telemetry on your heads-up display, on your OSD, then it's almost impossible to get it back. You know what I mean? And here's the deal. I take my ear aids out there with me because I got a horrible hearing. And in case I lose it, I'll turn on the beeper and put my ear aid in my eye so I can hear the thing beeping so I can find it. So
yeah, you know, you're way ahead of me, Al. Listen, but that's on the subject, and we're going to talk about it later with John. I honestly am looking forward to see what DJI brings to the table, because I suspect, my suspicion is that it will be an intermediate type product that may be more user friendly for people like me and Ron and you and you know, I'll be honest with you, Al. I just am not willing to commit the time that it takes to learn FPV. I've got plenty to do with camera drones. It looks like fun, but you know, probably just not in.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly, Marcus. I mean, I don't find enough time to even complete the projects I'm doing with camera drones, let alone getting to something different. I just don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, and you know, like you've stated before in the past, I think you got to be able to tinker with stuff too, because you're going to break it all the time. You know, so you got to put it back together, or you're going to hop it up, make it better. You're going to change your camera, you're going to change something. You know, you're going to change your motors, or you're just going to build one from scratch, right? Or you're going to go the route with DJI is going to do is probably going to be one of these that you're probably going to be able to fly just like a normal, I shouldn't say normal, but a GPS drone that we're used to today, like, you know, the Xeno Pros and Pluses and the Fimi X8s and, you know, the Mini 2s, and then hit that other switch and then boom, you're in full-blown let's rock and roll mode, right? So I think that's where they're going to bridge the gap, and I think that's something that they've always been good at. and I think it's going to be a home run again. So it's probably going to sell out. Have you guys pre-ordered it or anything?
That's not available for pre-order yet. In fact, they haven't even.
It's not even an official project.
Yeah, it's not even
yet. It's right now. It's rumor mill.
Yeah, in China you can pre-order it, of course, because they're going to be the first one to get it. But
yeah, and that's pre-order from a third-party seller. Marcus, I could take pre-orders in a drone right now because we know it's coming. We could take pre-orders.
We'll take pre-order for it right now, Al, if you want.
Yeah, I'll take your pre-order money.
Yeah,
and want to take your pre-order money on that new Ford Bronco that may or may not be coming out soon.
You want one of those new Ford Broncos, don't you, Al?
I'll take a pre-order on anything you want.
What's that called? The rubber biscuit?
Well, and see, that's a trick that we learned from Banggood, right? They'll take a pre-order 6 months before the drone's even available.
And then they'll return your money.
Yeah.
And even if we have to refund you the money, we just drew interest on your money for 6 months. So even if we give your money back, you still come out ahead. We're like almost like bankers at that point.
Yeah, the comments are lighting up, guys. Good to hear you guys chatting back and forth there. I mean, I'm reading some of it pretty fun. Well, it's definitely scam artists. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
hey, Al, I got a question for you though.
Yeah, man.
I watch your channel.
Thank you.
I haven't seen an FPV video yet, or have you?
No, I started one.
Dude, come on!
And I ended up like, I have it right here, but I haven't produced it. To be honest with you, I need it's put together, and I want to release it, but I was like, how am I going to I've just got to do it. To be honest with you, I don't know how many terabytes of disk space you guys have to purchase to keep up with your drone flying habits, but I think I buy a new disk drive every 3 months because I fill it up.
Right.
Right?
That's about right. I buy the 12 terabyte ones.
Yeah, you probably go to Costco and get them, right?
Yeah.
And I got a question for Al also. Al, did you vote in the DroneNation Drone of the Year contest?
Oh my gosh, no, I have not. And I'm on the page right now, so I might as well vote.
Cast your vote.
Yeah, I'll vote.
We'll send you one of those I voted stickers.
It's got to have a DroneNation and then check on it, man.
Could we don't want to pry, but could you tell us what drone you're voting for?
Hey, it's a secret ballot.
Yeah, man. It's as you know, that's privileged information.
I understand. You go in the polls and vote in private in the booth over the curtain.
I mean, the Air 2 is, in my opinion, the drone of the year.
There goes a landslide board.
Yeah. It's hard. Close to me. But, for the guys that are not so privileged as U.S. citizens, the Central Americans and South Americans, I would think, the Femi and the Xena would probably be in the wheelhouse because of the value. But I would recommend the Mini too over those.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, Marcus, we've been saying this for a couple of shows.
The point is this: I don't need permission to fly this thing. I could fly this thing. Okay, nobody's going to log this thing. Where DJI is logging, man. So that's the big deal. If you want to go fly covertly, this is the drone you pick up and run with. You know what I mean? But if you want to get tagged by some server capturing all your logs and all your flight data, pick this guy up.
Well, except for
this guy out and fly. Yeah.
My argument is that when I fly my Mavic drones or DJI drones, I get video that's worth a darn. I mean, I'm so frustrated with that Femi right now, Al. The 2020. I like the video off my 2018 version better than the 2020. It's not crisp. The white balance is always messed up. It's okay. It's not terrible. Don't misunderstand me. But when you have drones like the Skydio and like the DJI drones, it's just like, okay, why am I flying this? Because the whole point is to get good video. And since they upgraded the Mini 2 with 4K and all the features that they added to it, plus the speed and everything that it'll do,
and now you run Dji. Forget their app, because then you can kick it up a notch, run Dji, and rock and roll.
If you like third-party apps, I like keeping. If I have a problem, I like being able to go to DJI and say so. But I've just never felt the need for it. But it's okay. People that do, more power to you. But I'm just saying that when before the Mini had 4K video and some of the features that it has, I think you could make a valid argument for some of those other drones. I just don't think it's, since they upgraded the Mini too, I just don't think those arguments are valid anymore.
I agree. And the flight time and the stability and the speed, and because we no longer have to worry about wind issues, right? We have motors are fast enough to be able to rock that thing even in 18-mile-an-hour steady winds. It'll get back maybe doing 10 miles an hour or whatever it is, 4 meters a second, right? But it's going to get back. Where the Mini, oh my gosh, we all knew that thing was going to be trouble, especially after watching you falter that one time coming back, right? You remember that video you put together where you had it landed before the Mini, the Mini.
I barely remember that.
Good thing, we haven't taken our geriatric memory pills lately, because
and the thing is, Al, I've been a fan of the original Xeno for a long time, and I think that I guess if somebody only has $250, I'd still recommend that drone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to spend $400 or $500 on the Xeno 2 or on the FIMI X8 SC, I'm going to recommend the Mini 2 every time.
Well, the way I see it, if you could only buy one drone, buy this. Buy this.
You've got the Pro there?
Yeah, that's the Pro with a big camera.
Yeah.
Buy this. If you could only buy one drone, this is the drone to buy. Okay? Hands down.
And even if you only have half enough money to buy that drone, get the Air 2.
That's the whole point. You want to save up and get it, right? Sell your TV, sell your computer like that guy in Venezuela did, right? He was that dedicated. That's what he did.
Yeah.
Right? But the point is this, that, Marcus, you made a statement that you sold your Xeno 2, your Zoom Mavic 2 Zoom because your Air does just as well.
Well, not quite, but it's good enough. And I did that, Al, in anticipation of what may be coming.
Yeah, and we're all going to fork out money for the 3, and we're all going to fork money out for the FPV. Don't yourself. You're going to buy them, Bron.
What the Mavic 3? What was the second drone?
FPV.
Now the jury is still out on that, Al. I want to wait and see what it really is first. If it's what I think it is, I'm totally on board. I'm with you. Of course I will. Of course, depending on price too, right? But if I want to see it first. Now, what I guarantee you, well, because we'll know what the remote ID rules are by then. But when they come out with that Mavic 3, well, listen, what we know about DJI is it's going to be a home run. And where you're absolutely correct is I think still to this day, the preeminent prosumer drone still remains the Mavic 2 Pro. Now, you could make an argument for the Skydio. It's probably as good or better at some things, but as far as an all-around product, it's not even close to the 2 Pro. Now, Ron might tell you that his Autel Evo 2 Pro is right there, and I would make an argument it's damn close. I don't know enough about it to make that judgment myself.
Do you have the 6 or the 8K, Ron?
The 6K, which to people out there, the 6K is actually better than the 8K.
Yes, of course.
6K is a one sensor with bigger pixels.
Yeah, and that's the one to get. Everybody seems to be jumping on this 8K phenomenon. It's not the drone to buy because it's all about the sensor size, as you know. I mean, I got an APS-C sensor on my Canon M50. Oh, as a matter of fact, guys, check this out, man. I got myself a Ronin gimbal.
Oh, you got to do Rowan.
Canon M50?
Yep. Now, check this out, Marcus. This is the next lens you need to purchase, man. I'm going to make you go broke before the show is over, right?
Oh, boy.
You're going to have to work at it.
Come on, focus.
Focus. Which
Damn
one is that, Al?
Well, regardless, Al.
There it is.
Yeah.
You got a Sigma.
Yeah, it is a 1.4.
Oh, you got real very wide aperture.
So that is, well, the APS-C.
When you strap that onto a drone, you'll get my respect.
Hey, you have to weigh it. This thing's really heavy, though.
Well, it better be a big drone.
Yeah, exactly.
The Mavic 3 could have interchangeable lenses. I hear from my inside sources in China. I talk to Be Hung Low every day.
Hey, Lauren, what else did you find out?
Well, what I found out is it's 9:32, so that means we're going to pivot this show over to the FPV section, which Al has already talked a little FPV, but we're going to bring our resident FPV expert onto the show here. He's back in the green room. He's enjoying all the fine food back there, but we're going to bring him in a minute here, and we're going to find out about some of the pricing on that new DJI FPV drone that we had a pretty good discussion of the DroneNation group for the day. So we're going to kind of continue online here. So Al, get your FPV goggles on. We're going hardcore FPV. I wish you had a graphic like the good shows where an FPV drone could just fly across the screen in front of us all. But
like the good shows.
Like the good shows. Yeah. We're a low budget affair here.
You're going to have to talk to your producer, Ron. Come on, man.
Yeah, well, I think we had to let him off. But John was here for a second, but he popped back out. So just real quick, while John's getting himself ready here, we want to beg for more subscribers here. We were at 613 at one point, but a couple of people got angry. We dropped to 611. So we definitely need to gain a few new subs out there. So anybody's watching here that's not already subs, you know what to do. And if not, I don't know, get your friends and family to sub us up too. But if they don't have to watch any videos, just sub us up or whatever, and get us up to that magic 1,000 mark where Marcus and I can bring in big name producers and fancy dancy graphics strolling across the screen. So
as Billy Mike would say, dancing girls.
Definitely not me dancing.
Yeah, no.
Hey,
John Cuppi's having technical difficulties here. So to Al's point was making with that lens, he was saying to get the Autel Pro. But you know what? The Autel Non-Pro with the 8K, that doesn't have a half-band sensor in it too. That has the same quad-bear sensor that the Mavic Air 2 has in it. So it has the same sensor as the Drone of the Year has in it. So that's not a wimpy sensor either. So you probably can't go wrong with either of the Evo 2s, but if you like that 1-inch sensor, like Al was showing that 1.4, it's not that wide open, but it will let more light in.
Hey, Ron, so you're on that subject, and I remember you were telling me some differences in the low light capabilities between the 2 Pro and the Autel Pro. You felt like the Autel Pro took more light into the sensor?
Well, sometimes in some situations it does. In some situations it doesn't. It's not an either or across the board. So I wouldn't declare one the total winner in every situation, but I think I see more detail coming out of the Evo 2 Pro because I think it has more bits, and allows more data to be, recorded and streamed there through the software a little faster. So I think I see a little more detail, but low light, I'd call it about even. Al, you got something?
Yeah. Hey, Ron. So do you know if you can interchange the cameras out in the field like you did with the Mavic 2 Pro?
Well, yeah, the cameras are more interchangeable on the Evo 2s than they are the DJI ones. They recommend them to send them into the DJI to do it, where the Autel ones, I haven't tried it, but suppose it's easy for a home user to do. Marcus.
Well, so, and this is a question for you too, Al, you and Ron both. Why would you want to switch those two cameras? In other words, if you had the 6K with the 1-inch sensor, what would be the advantage of switching to the other camera?
No, I would be the other way around. If I had the 8K, I'd want the 6K.
There you go. Okay.
And remember, they have a FLIR camera too. They want to change out to the.
Yeah, you better have $5,000 or $6,000 to buy it though.
Yeah. Well, the other question I had, guys, is this, or actually a statement, and Lauren can probably answer to this. Now, the Air 2, if you replace your camera, there's some kind of signature in the firmware of the camera that SGI has to make both signatures together. Kind of like on a BMW, okay? You replace certain parts, okay? Like anti-brake system, ABS, okay? That ABS module must have the same serial number of the whole car. Otherwise, the module don't work in your car. So they've moved to that direction with the Air 2. So you can buy the camera and install it, but it won't function unless you get access to their diagnostics and make.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like Apple, doesn't it? They don't want other people repairing their stuff.
Yeah, and you know what?
Tesla.
Yeah, and so you can buy the aftermarket, Air 2 camera. It costs about $200, right? And then you put it in, and it doesn't work. So you have to send it into them to be able to
program it,
activate it.
Yeah.
Well, John Cuppi has solved his technical difficulties, and he's ready to go FPV boot camp. So with no further ado, we're bringing John Cuppi in live from somewhere in the Midwest.
Hey, John.
What's going on, guys? What's going on? Yeah, I see you guys in the chat. You guys troublemakers. I see the lies you guys are spreading in there.
They were.
Oh, there's some false information in there?
There's some false information, Ron.
Yeah.
Well, this is the year of what he called fake news and everything, right, John?
That's true. That's true.
Well, maybe they're good luck. Maybe they're good on truths. So John, we kind of primed them up in the DroneNation Facebook group last week. Lauren started a little stream where he was talking about the DJI FPV drone possibly being a little overpriced. And it did seem right that, $1,500, that's a lot of money. But you kind of broke it down. You kind of parred it out and broke it down. You kind of made, some more sense of it. And I want to kind of get you to get into that. And real quick before I let John get into that, Drone DJ, a lot of people have, in the last 24 hours, have a really good picture of the drone that Osila posted, and I was trying to get his Osila's picture, but I could not find it. But it's in the DroneNation, so you get a real good picture of the drone. But John, go ahead and kind of follow us through that kind of what you were trying to explain to Lauren about the parts make sense when you add it all up.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. First, thanks for having me, Ron, Marcus, and Al. It's good to see you guys. All right, so. I believe that post was, I guess he got word that the price might not be so good. And I did see there are a number of people that were making, I guess, guesses about what the price this drone should be. And some of them were too low, some of them were too high. So hopefully I can kind of help to figure out where my guess on the price comes from. So let's start with, what do these cost alone? The DJI version 1 goggles. Now we know there's a version 2. We know externally that they look the same as these, but we don't know internally what the difference is. But right now, these are $529. Okay, so you're out $500 right there for these. Okay, version 1.
But you feel they're top-notch goggles, though, right? You're really happy with them?
Oh yeah, I'm very, very happy with them. If anything, the one thing I was really unhappy with was the foam, but I replaced mine with the sponge foam from DJI, much better foam, and the strap too. The stock strap sucked. Hopefully they address those two issues with the V2. But I mean, like, you guys don't see the V2 goggles being any lower than 500, do you? I would be shocked. I would be shocked if they were any lower than $500. So that's a safe bet, right? $500 for the goggles.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the controller, I'm going to bring the Tango 2 over here, because this controller looks a lot like that DJI controller.
It does.
Right? A lot like it. I'm sure, who knows, could have been a little inspiration for it. DJI's got their own research and dev, right? This is the Crossfire Remote, and I would say this is probably the closest thing that I would compare DJI's remote to, because with this, you're going to get really long range. It's got that nice form factor here. This runs you $200. Right now, the DJI transmitter, the one that looks like a Phantom, they charge $300 for it. I really can't see them charging any less for the DJI system transmitter in a package like this. I bet you the price is still going to be like $300. So that puts us at $800, 800 something for the goggles and the remote. Now, that leaves, if I estimate it to be around $1,500, it leaves what? Maybe $700 for the drone? There's a lot of room that you can build a drone with in there. So a drone like this, myself built, okay? You can put something together like this for maybe $400, $500, something like that. You know, each the motors here, I believe I got these motors for around $60 for all 4 motors. The ESCs, again, that's cheap. You can get these for probably like 10 or 15 bucks in ESC. The flight controller is probably the most expensive thing in there. It's about 75 bucks, and the frame is $100. So you guys can kind of see what the general price point of something like this is to build. Now, the one thing that you're missing is the GoPro. The GoPro is what's going to get you that high def footage. DJI's FPV drone is supposed to have really good quality footage from that onboard camera that'll do 4K at 60. You know, my personal build here, has the DJI FPV system installed with the air unit that gives you 1080 at 60 to the air unit on board, but that's nothing compared to having like cinematic GoPro footage. So I would think that $1,500 for all of that would be a really, really good price. Like, it sounds really high. It sounds really, really high. But just considering all of that, that's a lot. That's a lot to get to that point. And that doesn't even include a hobby grade charger. You know, we haven't even talked about batteries yet. I brought this up too. Your battery charger, hobby grade battery charger, is going to cost you $100 probably. You might be able to get something for $60, but a good quality. I'm trying to compare high end to high end here. I'm not trying to go for the cheapest thing, because to me that wouldn't be fair, right? It wouldn't be fair to pick the cheapest thing in FPV and compare the DJI drone to that. I'm trying to stick with premium to premium. So any decent charger is going to run you about $100 for the batteries. And that's right. We didn't even talk about the cost of the battery. Does anybody here know what a 6S battery costs? It's a pretty beefy battery too.
Yeah,
they're expensive.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Sorry, Marcus. I had a question for John. So, you know, we're going to buy all this really expensive digital transmission system, and, you know, are we going to be able to? You think we're going to be able to use it with, let's say, the homemade builds like you have behind you?
Yes, I would be shocked if we could not use those goggles with the existing air unit and other technology that DJI has given us to make our own builds with their system. I would be shocked if they did that. There were a few comments by people thinking that because DJI typically when they make something new, they break backwards compatibility with everything pretty much. I mean, with the Mini, we had this weird situation where the battery, the Mini 1 battery would work in the Mini 2, right, guys?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. That was sort of like an offhand thing. But generally, whenever there's a new thing from DJI, you've got to buy all new batteries. You've got to buy it's a whole new controller. You know, maybe with the smart controller, there's an exception, but even then. So with the FPV stuff, I think they'd be making a huge mistake to do that. A huge mistake. Number one, they really have no reason to do that when they really don't have much competition right now in the space. We have Fat Shark trying to get the Bifrost high def system out, and it's not bad, but I would just grade it to be a little higher quality analog. It's really not that great in my opinion. The DJI system is still the top in its class right now. They don't have to do much to these new goggles. I really think people are going to be surprised to see that I think these goggles are not going to be that big of a change. I don't think it's going to be the big change that some people are thinking it is.
So, John, my question is this. I heard, I guess it's kind of a two-part question. I've heard some speculation that the DJI drone doesn't look like it will be able to do acro flips and those kind of things. I'm curious what your opinion is of that. And then secondly, I've never put on a pair of goggles like that in my life. Could you potentially have a motion sickness problem with that? Do people have motion sickness problems with those goggles?
Certainly. My first experience with box goggles actually gave me motion sickness. Now, keep in mind, these were really primitive box goggles, okay, with a terrible resolution, not very nice on your eyes. We're talking, I had these box goggles like 4 years ago. So really, really bad, okay? And I think at the time I paid like $200 for them, so they were pretty damn bad. Yeah. But yeah, there is, of course, the potential to get some kind of motion sickness. See, goggles are still, I believe it's a 720p. It's a 720p stream to the goggles.
Thank you, John, for answering Sam's question.
It's 720p to the goggles. But to answer that, yeah, goggles are something that if you, and it's tough in these times to recommend this, but if you know somebody with goggles, the best way to figure out what your reaction is going to be or whether they're going to work with your vision is to get someone to give you a pair to put on your face to see what it's like. And try them. And try them and just know that, yeah, it's going to be a little like, whoa, this feels weird. Because it is. It's up close. It's in your face. The DJI goggles, see, compared to the Fat Shark goggles, the DJI ones, they're way more immersive. Okay, these, it's like you're in the front. It's like you're in the third row of a movie theater. Okay, that's maybe the best way I can describe it. It's in your face. It's up close. The Fat Sharks are more like you're sitting at the very back of the movie theater. So it's definitely more immersive. That's the best way to describe it. It's more immersive. But
hey, John, Sam Burns had a comment here. He's telling Marcus some people have to sit down to fly FPV just for that reason. John, you've seen it over the years that some people have to sit down.
And I think
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, I was going to say, John, every time I've seen you, you sit down when you're flying. Yeah.
I'm sitting down or I lean against my car. That's typically the way I fly. I can stand, but if I do certain moves, I end up finding it very disorientating. So I would rather just be sitting down. That could be from just years of sitting down from a computer playing video games. It might just be where I feel I'm in my comfort zone. Because for me, this is like flying like a real life video game. So,
yeah. Well, so then what's your guess on the DJI FPV drone being able to do acro and flips? I mean, it almost has to, right? Because how can they even call it an FPV drone if it doesn't?
How would
yeah,
they
so
do all that?
Go ahead.
Right? I mean, why not? If you're going to make an FPV drone, you're going to do that. The thing that bothers me the most is, how they're going to probably lock up the spare parts. We're going to break those things, and we're going to need to fix them. And so the question is going to be, are they going to be able to provide parts for us to fix them, or are we going to have to send them back each time? So that's the kind of aggravating part for us, is that they're going to run into a lot of newbies flying these things. They're going to crack them up.
Right.
So, what is your opinion on the acro of that drone? I mean, can you tell by looking at it if it?
You can't tell by just looking at it if it's going to have acro on it or not. But I did see in the post. I know what you're talking about. So there's this post that got put up earlier today in some of the groups of what looked like a prototype of the DJI FPV drone, an older prototype, and there was some chatter of what appears to look like an Instagram chat feed between people, and one of them was saying, "Oh man, I crashed DJI FPV drone. Doesn't seem like a good idea." All right, I believe that was one of their comments. Ron, do you have that photo to put up for? I think I put it in one of the chats.
I will go try to find it. Well, you keep
anyway.
Real quick, can you answer Patrick Sutton's question?
Yeah.
What about us glasses wearers? That's always a topic for FPV.
Good question. I will get to that, absolutely, especially as a glasses wearer. I'll give my thoughts on that one after you finish here. So, yeah, I think that post may have been using some kind of prototype, and maybe full acro wasn't enabled. Maybe they only enabled horizon, possibly, when they sent it out. Right. The fact that it wasn't, it looked like it just had basic metal arms of sorts. It had standard motors on it. It didn't have special motors. You could even see that it was using regular old props. In fact, the props kind of just looked like these with, with a lockdown on them. Right. And now we look at what we have now, and it's just not even the same body at all. Here's the thing. Any question that you guys can think of, I guarantee DJI has thought about it. And to kind of segue into Al's question about replacement parts, DJI's GPS camera birds, at least up until this point, they have not really put them out with the idea that they're going to be crashed regularly. I think this one, even though they may not want you to crash it a ton, I think it looks a little stronger than it appears. And they know it's FPV. They know it's going to be unstabilized acro flying, and that people are going to crash flying them. I think that they're smart enough to anticipate that. And I would have a very, very hard time seeing them not put out some kind of part supply to make it easy to change, say, a whole arm in the field, or a propeller, well, not a propeller, or a motor per se. And I guarantee it's all plug and play too. I bet you won't have to do much soldering either. This has to be, it has to be serviceable in the field because of the kind of drone that it is. I would be shocked if every time you had an issue, you had to send it to DJI.
You know what the frame reminds me of, looking at it? My first impression was the Spark for me.
Not this.
It looks like,
that's not the one.
No, the other picture. Let me pull it up. And that was us talking about
the guy that deleted the
thing.
Yeah.
I'll put it in our chat, Ron. One second.
Okay. And what was that story you were following earlier, where somebody It was information on the new goggles.
Right. So it's actually a good thing to bring up. So somebody had put a question up about the new goggles, right? Because the new goggles, one of the things that we learned from the FCC filing is that they added the 2.4 gigahertz band to the goggles. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but the goggles are not just a receiver. They're also a transmitter. They transmit, okay? So like if the signal's getting a little weak, the goggles will literally send something out from the unit. In the FCC filings, one difference between the version 1 and the version 2 is that version 1 only has 5.8 gigahertz on board. Version 2 has 2.4. We don't know what that's for. Someone was speculating, could that have been added as some kind of tie-in with the control link? Because as you guys know, a lot of control links are 2.4, right? So they were thinking, could the goggles have anything to do with remote ID? And I believe the answer, because I didn't get to see it, because the guy just decided to delete all the posts, and the reply by DJI's lawyer, Brendan Shulman, he just decided to delete everything in there because he wanted the post down. They said that the goggles would not be a part of remote ID. So now that was some good information to know.
Great information. Yeah,
it is. It's some great information.
You know that Brendan Shulman resigned from DJI yesterday.
Oh, he did. I did not know that.
Yeah, he's no longer with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That makes the second DJI resignation in what, few days now? One of their top engineers just resigned too.
Yeah. It sounds like I don't know that happens in corporate America, doesn't it, Al? I mean, that's how that works. Yeah. Or corporate anywhere. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I would love to know, if anybody knows any more about that, because wow.
Yeah, and Shulman's just very active lately, kind of teasing all these new products coming out, and he even hinted a while back about more stuff is going to come before Christmas. So to him to leave so suddenly after being so active in the past 60 days is kind of surprising.
Yeah, it was nice to have somebody, even though he was a corporate lawyer, he was in the groups, posting in forums with everybody else. That kind of work was not above him. He took the time to talk to people about stuff, and I really respected that. It's a shame that he's leaving.
He also was a true drone fan. I mean, clearly it wasn't just a job to him. He enjoyed consumer drones and enjoyed the whole. He was an advocate not just for DJI but for the whole hobby.
Yeah, earlier this year he was actually on Build a Drone Reviewer show.
That's right. Yeah, he was a good guy in terms of the drone community here. Let's see. Sam Burns was saying the goggles transmit to the drone to ask for missing video frames. Okay, see, I didn't know why they transmitted. That's good to know, Sam Burns. I had no idea why.
Ron, you've got that picture. Did you want to put that up or
I put a picture in chat.
John sent it to us on Facebook.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the one, Marcus, where you're talking about where they were saying it doesn't have acro.
Right. You got it, Ron? I can.
Okay. I'll go look for it again.
Keep in mind, guys, this is an old photo. This has to be an old photo, and any of you guys who've seen this drone already are gonna know already that, hey, this thing really doesn't look like the polished product that has been getting flooded in all the groups. This looks like a very old conversation.
Right. Yeah, no question about it. Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, this is just for my part, John, and we've talked about. Well, I'll let you talk about this.
Is this
it? I'm covered now. Doom for all of us. Yes.
There we go. There we go.
There it is. Yeah. See, and like Lauren was pointing out, look at the motors. Look at the prop lock nut there. Look at how the propellers kind of just look like they could be these in a gray color. They don't look like proprietary props. They just
it's pretty clear it's a prototype, huh?
Yeah, it looks like big time prototype.
Yeah.
And they were saying here that at this time the V1 DJI goggles won't connect and that you need the V2. I've heard far more rumors from sources saying otherwise, that The V1 goggles will absolutely work with the DJI drone. Again, these are just rumors, but this is the only place I've really heard from some sort of leak that they won't. So,
yeah, that frame looks really neat. Looks like a tubular frame instead of a, classic X flat frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that's a prototype. Because it doesn't even look like the newer pictures that we've seen. Like you said, Al, it's got those weird arms and stuff, and the newer one looks clearly more finished and more polished than that.
On the picture of CLab posted in the last 24 hours, people speculate that the gimbal looks like a one-axis gimbal on it, and they speculate that because they said a three-axis gimbal would be too fragile. That a one-axis gimbal makes more sense from being rigid in the field.
Right. Well, it's not only that too, Ron. A stabilized gimbal or a stabilized lens will just screw you up if you're trying to fly FPV. Right. You can't have the camera being stabilized while you're trying to fly.
Won't know which way your drone is going.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do that. The stabilization of the video is going to be on board. It's going to be onboard software. I wouldn't be surprised if they took in whatever they learned making the Osmo Action and threw some, what do they call it, Rocksteady on there.
Right.
So the only speculation that I can make, and you tell me if this would work or not, is that they're going to have a way to keep the camera pointed forward. In other words, if you're full pitch forward, they'll have a system on there that'll keep the camera pointed forward. Now, that wouldn't hurt you from a control perspective, would it? Or am I wrong?
No, it shouldn't. No, it shouldn't. And absolutely, it makes sense to have that.
Yeah, and on Osila's picture again, they speculated that the two things at the bottom that look like tiny cameras would be obstacle avoidance sensors, but they also speculated that that could hurt the drone in a ways because we all know unless DJI has advanced obstacle avoidance to another level, you cannot use it in fast speeds.
Yeah, I mean, I turn mine off now on my camera drones. I turn off obstacle avoidance for exactly what you're talking about, Ron. If you're flying in close quarters someplace, you turn it off so that it's not always stopping your drone. Even with APAS works, but often the drone isn't going to go the direction you want it to. So many times I turn it off when I'm in close quarters, and so I guess that's me extrapolating that if I'm doing that with a camera drone, you certainly wouldn't want it on FPV.
Good point.
So
John, I'm looking at Ray's comments here. Oh, go ahead, Al. Sorry.
Yeah, so John, we have a lot of people out there that are trying to get into drones, and I know that I'm one of them. And one of the first things that I picked up was the little Emax Tiny Hawk, and then I stepped up to the Tiny Hawk 2, and that's where the level I'm at now. So I'm, starting to crank it up a little bit. And so, guys out there, I mean, I really recommend this little Emax Tiny Hawk right here. This little sucker right there, and that little sucker, which you have. As you can see, these are probably the drones you want to cut your teeth on, guys. What are your thoughts? Which ones would you recommend, and why?
All right, wait, but before we get into that, I wanted to answer Patrick's question real quick about the goggles and the glasses.
Yeah.
So just real quick, DJI FPV goggles, if you wear glasses, they'll fit right on them. Absolutely no problem. The foam, I find the sponge foam kind of messes with my goggles a little bit. So I kind of have to adjust my glasses. I can fix it if I got like a glasses strap of sorts. But if you're a glasses wearer, you can just wear these straight up with your glasses. And for a lot of people, that solves a ton of vision issues because for me, I am so nearsighted that I need to have diopters in my Fat Sharks. Let me just show you guys these real quick. So these are my Fat Shark goggles, which obviously can't fit with my glasses on. But let me show you this lens. That's a -2 corrective lens that I can just.
So you can buy those to put in there. Cool.
Right. But I'll tell you what. One of my eyes is a little worse than the other, just slightly worse. So I'm sure I'm not getting the best vision with both of them being just straight up -2 correction. They do sell prescription ones that you can get. There's some vendors that you can send them your eyes and get prescription ones made. But it's been good enough for me over the years. It's been good enough.
Hey, before we move on here, we got to correct a mistake, and that was my mistake. I incorrectly said it was Brendan Shulman. It was Romeo Dersher that left.
Oh,
yeah.
Corrected that.
Correct. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
Thank
That was good. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for the correction.
Romeo's position with the company, Marcus.
That was the guy I was talking about, the engineer who had just left.
Yeah.
That's why I was surprised when Marcus had said that Brendan Shulman left too. I'm like, wow, that's 2 people in 1 week.
Yeah. I got confused there. I apologize.
No problem.
Thank you, Lauren.
And don't get mad at us, Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to these guys. So Al, you've messed around with both of these guys, right? You've taken this one for a spin.
Oh yeah. I've got a couple of videos in a cab, but I haven't published them. They're not the class that I or normally like to produce, but you know what? It is what it is.
Well, they're fun. I mean, these are fun. I mean, I love this little thing. It's so quiet. You can take it pretty much anywhere. I can take this to a park, and if it's even moderately busy there, I can fly this thing around and not worry about attracting too much attention. Nobody's gonna bother me over this unless they really want to make my day bad for no reason. Which I'd be ready. I'd be ready to battle them over this. I'd be like, really, officer? Okay, this is what someone called me about. I'll go head to head over that one. But yeah, I mean,
they're dirt cheap.
Yeah, it is. It is.
5 batteries in your bag for like $50.
Yeah. What kind of batteries you got for it, Al?
Let's see. So I just bought it. The 450 milliamp. And you can see them right here. If I can
the Emax ones.
We see we're at 50 amp. Yeah, we can see it clearly, Al. Thank you.
I have a bunch of these. These are UAV, same thing, just a different brand. Pretty darn cheap. I think the Emax batteries are just rebranded GNB batteries. So if you search for GNB, I think they're a little cheaper. I think it's a little cheaper. I actually bought a new battery called AU line. I wish I had it sitting here with me for my Tiny Hawk stuff, and I really like the AU line batteries. It's AU, literally AU line. If you want to search those up, I only recommend them is because they're cheaper. They're cheaper than the Emax ones. A little cheaper.
Yeah, these things are definitely a blast to fly, guys. But you got to be there to find them when you drop them out of the sky.
Yeah.
And
how fun is it? How fun is it to go on a rescue mission?
Yeah, I like yours better because I'm going to put red props on mine now. This thing's really easy to lose.
Yeah, it's super easy to lose.
Yeah. So that's the downside, guys. So I like to find an area that I know every tree and every rock and everything around me. So when the thing falls out of the sky, I knew that, I was around this rock, around this tree. So because I'm a newbie, I'm a novice at it. So that's one of the things that I found out how to find my little guy is that, once activate your beeper and then listen for it, and then you can find it.
Right. So the tricky thing about these is that there actually is no physical beeper on them. There's no buzzer. The only noise that you get with this thing actually comes from the motor tones, which are sent to it by the ESC. If it wasn't for the motor tones, we wouldn't have any noise on this thing at all. It has no buzzer.
And this this little sucker does. So you're lucky if you could throw the switch on your controller to buzz it. Again, it's not very loud. So if you're like in a high traffic area and in park around, a lot of cars going around, it's a little harder to find.
Absolutely.
I can do that with my Mavic Mini.
Hey, John, here's a question for you, John. With it, before, would you recommend somebody who has no experience in FPV piloting at all that goes straight into this DJI FPV drone, or would you recommend somebody to start with the kind of drones you and Al has been showing first, and then move up to the DJI $1,500 possibly FPV drone?
Ron, that's a tough question.
I know.
I'd be
in the hot seat here, John. It is.
I'd be inclined to say, see, this is tough. This is tough because if you want to start in FPV, okay, the cheapest way to start is to have analog, right? And Ron, you started with a Tiny Hawk, and you tried to get it to work, and it just was a disaster for you, right? Because you bought it separately, right? You bought the controller, the goggles, and the drone all
I already
separate.
had a controller and so on, and truthfully, John, if I couldn't conquer this in a short amount of time, I just don't have enough time to spend hours and hours and hours learning it. It had to come to me quickly.
And so that's why you needed a bind and fly solution. Now there are off-the-shelf solutions, but none of them are going to give you like high definition video. This is analog. Now, one of you guys might put your goggles on, look at this, and be like, "Oh, this video is terrible. This is absolutely terrible." We actually have people who went into FPV and they have not seen analog yet. They've not had to put up with the low video quality of analog. They just got to jump right into digital because it was there. They didn't have any gear, and they were like, "Well, DJI is here. I'm going to do my first build, do my first drone," and they never had to quote unquote suffer for years with analog. But at the same point in time, that's $1,500, I estimate, to dump into something, and we don't know what kind of safety features this new quad has. I don't know if it's going to have break-in like we've never seen to prevent somebody who's new from having a crazy collision. We don't know how durable it is. We don't know a lot about how good its endurance is. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's a tough question to answer right now without actually seeing it come out.
Hey, John, here's what we know. Whenever DJI gives us something, it's typically beyond what we expected, right? So, if I'm just letting my imagination go wild, could it have purposely have breakaway arms on it? In other words, if you hit something, they purposely break away so you can just snap it back in. And I'm just speculating,
Barnstorming,
right? But there's, I just guarantee you, whatever it is, there's going to be things about it that are just going to blow our mind.
Yeah, I'm sure. And this kind of goes back to that question of, should you buy a toy drone before you buy a Mavic Mini, or before you buy one of those things?
The age-old conversation, yep.
It's an age-old conversation. I guess now we're going to have that with FPV. Should you buy an analog FPV drone and learn to fly that? And if you can handle that, then you'll be able to handle the DJI drone, no problem. This is now going to be a question that people are going to have to ask and answer for themselves. And really, we have to see this drone, I think, before I can even say really yes or no to that. I think if I had to predict it, it's probably going to be, you're probably good at least getting something like this to fart around within the house before you go all the way in with DJI.
At least they give you a sense of wearing goggles and everything. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, real quick, John, part two follow-up question to what should you do first. You made a good point. We don't know exactly what this drone is going to be, and so to me, the early reviews are going to be very important for this drone. And here comes the question: usually, with the DJI drones, the same camera drone people get seated with the drones every time. You know all the big challenge, John. They get it all early. But since this is an FPV drone per se, well, instead of, I hate to say the names out, but instead of the usual names getting, well, the big names in FPV get the drone instead because they may be able to, give more pertinent information out to buyers than if you give it to somebody just a camera drone. You get where I'm going with this question? Who's going to be the key reviews for
Joshua Hardwell, for sure. In my opinion.
I don't know that he's been sent a review model. It's from the way he's talked, I don't think he has. I do know the Rotor Riot guys worked with them.
How about the Rotor guys? What's the name?
Rotor Riot.
Yeah, Rotor Riot guys. Those guys are always. Thank you. They were always sending out complete builds. You could purchase, the DJI goggles and controller and bird all decked out, ready to fly.
Right, and look, I know that Rotor Riot got. Several people, I think, in Rotor Riot got the DJI goggles. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but it's funny. So some people made fun of them in the groups and said, "Oh, here's DJI Riot again, only flying DJI and not doing any analog stuff anymore." So definitely, you can expect to see some people who are big names in FPV flying the DJI system. I'm sure that they've been sent out under some pretty tight DNAs, right, Ron?
DNA. And speaking of DNA, did you see Jet Martin's comment in the chat, John?
Yeah, that's good to know that Joshua already got one. That's what I figured he would get one for sure. I mean, he's got the biggest channel. He has the best.
Then he's doing a good job making it seem like he doesn't have it.
This little sucker right here, guys, is so cool to fly around the house. It costs $18, and it's so much fun. It's a, I don't know, JRC H36, $18. If you want to learn to fly, get one of these. In 2 minutes flying around the house, you will just have a blast.
Those are fun to just get for like your kids and stuff too, for like this as a Christmas present or something like that. I mean.
Al, did you hook it up to the rig? How much weight can it lift?
I have number 2 video coming out already. The Skydio is going to be in it. That's been the biggest challenge, trying to get that thing up in the air without,
You're gonna hook the Skydio up to that thing?
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh my God, man! Just don't crash.
No. Only the Xeno Pro crash, man.
Yeah.
I know. I saw that.
I think it was a wild horse, man. And what was it, Brian? TRD drones. What's Brian? Pendleton? Yeah. He was saying, in the comments, he said, "Oh, what happened to Al? Oh, Al's aorta got cut by the wild Xeno." I started laughing, Brian. You cracked me up, man.
I tell you what, Al. Ever since I did a little delivery of some toilet paper back in March with this like Mavic Pro item dropping device.
Yeah,
I swear. The video's gotten so much more traction lately, and it seems like every other day I'm getting questions of, does this system work with the Autel Evo? Can this system work with the Xeno? Does it work with the Mavic Mini? And every time I have to say, no, it's only for the Mavic Pro. No, it's only for this. People really do want to lift stuff with their drone. They really do.
Hey, listen, John, I got some advice for those people. You need to send them over to Al. He'll modify with Duranify. He'll make it work.
I was just thinking, like these guys all want to see Al's video of him lifting the weight of all this crap. Because apparently people want to do it.
How about, Drone 51 did that, copied you because he did that, he delivered toilet paper to his neighbor after you did your video.
I don't think my idea was terribly unique, Al. I cannot take the credit for that.
whatever the trend was, he did one after yours, right? And then he did his test using little box that said Amazon on it, and he tied, four strings to it, and then right in the middle he tied the main line going up to the drone. And what he did was he weighed sand and put it in plastic bags and added the grams. So I was like, why didn't you just make a scale that weighs it? And in high school, I made rocket propellant for a project and was allowed to bring it on campus, on ground, to test rocket motors. Yeah, this was in 1974. They allowed you to bring, and so I made a similar device and I recorded how much thrust the rocket and how long the burn was. Now my burns were not even 3/4 of a second. And so what I had was a paint roller on the motor and a piece of paper and a pen, and that drew the 0. And then when the rocket took off, it pulled the scale and the pen moved. And so you got the graph, and that's how you measure your thrust. So I was like, I might as well just do the same thing with the drones.
Hey,
Absolutely.
speaking of, you just made me think about something, Al. I was at the, you guys know that I fly a lot of drones at Heroes Park here in town. One of the places I go and fly all the time. The other day I was out there and I didn't have a drone. I was just out there doing laps around the park. And I saw a guy out in the middle of the park doing model rocketry. And I did that as a kid too, those Estes model rocket engines. And man, they'll go way up there. And it got me to thinking, I'm thinking, okay, this guy is perfectly legal launching these missiles up however high he wants to launch them in that park, right? But yet,
No
with our drones, and they're completely uncontrolled, right? He has no control over it. It's a missile. It's going straight up.
Is he flying in line of sight, Marcus?
Well, that's my point. No, it's not, because they go. I don't know how far they go, but it's a hell of a lot more than 400 feet.
Yeah, and they're not regulated, and they're not regulated to fly below, to stay below 400 feet. They're allowed to fly as high as they want.
And that's my point. They're completely uncontrolled. So I thought, well, there's just something not fair here.
And you know what? You could double stage those rockets, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember.
And that's when you had, your C60 or D60 or
the D were the bad boys, right?
Yeah. And the E is serious is when you want to get serious, right? Because that was my goal, to move it up to the F series, and it was just.
But the point of it is they're uncontrolled missiles, and so why isn't anybody at the FAA even thinking about that? Now I had a ball watching the guy doing it, because it reminded me of when I was a kid. It'd go up, as soon as the rocket reached its apogee, pop, out would come the chute, and down, down it would go. And he had his grandkids chasing them all over the park. Anyway, that neither here nor there, but it got a bit.
I mean, this is a good segue into, guys, I don't know how much remote ID is going to affect you guys potentially jumping in on this drone. It's kind of, I don't know if I were to pick it up, if I would keep it in the long term, because it is above 250 grams. So that means that if the NPRM were to drop and go through as proposed, with pretty much little changes, that drone would be subject to it in probably about a year's time, because I believe that's the compliance. It's the grace period to comply. And the FAA is, I guess, looking to try to get the remote USS service and all that other stuff squared away by 2021. So that's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a downer, right?
Well,
especially with this new drone coming in.
You're not going to require the remote ID unless you're flying over 300 feet.
Well, we don't know that yet.
You don't know that.
Yeah, we'll hear the rule though in the next couple of weeks, but that's one thing I'll say, John. At least we'll know the rule by then, and we can decide buy or don't buy based on that.
Yep, absolutely. I'm really eager to see it as well because I tell you what, I'll probably get it to play with it for a while, but I couldn't see myself keeping it because I just wouldn't want to have an FPV drone that's got to be hooked up to remote ID. I can't. I don't want to deal with that. So I would probably, and that's a discussion for another day, honestly, too, because I would probably end up selling my Mavic Air too before the year was up. I'd probably get rid of that too, because you know that DJI is gonna make all their drones comply probably with remote ID. Well, even before the grace period, they'll get people ready. That would be my prediction.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
That dovetails me to a question for the panel here. How many of you all think that the Mavic 3 is being held up because of the remote ID?
DJI question. Yeah, they all but said that, Al.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the next question is this: what was your first drone that you purchased?
Mine was a.
For the three of you.
Listen, I thought this was really cool. I thought, the bigger the drone, the better, right? So it was a toy drone, and it was a JJRC something, but it was probably about the same size or a little bit bigger than a Phantom, but it sure wasn't built like it. And I mean, I might have got that thing to hover one time. I don't know, but it was always.
John, I knew that JJRC quality, right?
Oh yeah, Ron, you know JJRC.
Yeah, that was quite the joke. But the point is, then the first time I saw somebody say something, watching YouTube videos, right, like we do, I saw somebody launch a GPS drone, and the light bulb goes off over your head, and you go, "Hey, I can do that."
So mine was the SEMA X5C, which I know Ron's very familiar with that one.
Yeah, I got a two-part answer for you, Al. The SEMA X5 was my first drone, but I received it as a Christmas gift from my wife. The first one I purchased with my own hard-earned money was a Phantom 4 Standard.
Dang.
Susan bought you your first drone. Susan bought you, Ron?
The SEMA X5.
Susan was awesome, man. Susan rocks.
I was on the Amazon Christmas list.
Nice.
She had no idea what she was going to do when she got you a drone. It literally changed the course of your life, Ron. You have that's the best.
Better than spending money on golf, right?
I always say it's cheaper than playing golf.
All right, listen. Here's what I purchased. I bought the Hubsan 501 SS.
Oh,
I remember that one.
You went all the way, Al.
That was my first drone. But before I did that, I bought this to fly around, see if I would like it. And I flew around the house so many times that I think everybody was ready for me to move up and get out of the house. So, yeah.
Al, you were a little after me. The 501S wasn't out when I first started flying.
Yeah, this was my first drone because I didn't want to spend $200 on something that I wasn't going to like. So I bought something for $18 and just flew the heck out of it, and I was addicted to it. So,
right, and that was why I bought the SEMA, because at the time, it's funny. Lauren brings up the Blade 350 because
there's the Blade.
This was 2000
degrees, cheap.
It was 2014.
And that's the thing. I mean, John, I don't know about you, but I would go through like 3 batteries like in no time. And I'm like, oh, I wish I had 3 more. You know what I mean? Because you get all the way out there to the field and you get, that 4-minute burn, and then another 4-minute burn, and then another 4-minute burn. Then you're like, oh man, I need more.
Yep. I remember taking the SEMA out because where my parents live, when I still lived there, right behind their house, there was a nice big open field to just walk to and walk back, but there just was never enough battery life. I think the SEMA came with 1 or 2 batteries, and you got maybe 8 minutes or something like that on the SEMA, Ron?
So 8 minutes means you were in critical low and it was landing. And did it come down gentle, just drop out of the sky on critical?
Nope, the SEMA just dropped out of the sky on you, man.
Hey,
This is primitive stuff, Ron.
Hey, this is how I get my fix, guys. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh boy. There went the show.
All right, there you go.
Hey, what's the difference between the Chrome and the Chrome 350 QX that Michael Wright had?
I have both of those, Michael Wright. I actually have the 350 QX and the Blade Chroma. They're still sitting in my garage. The Chroma's big. That's a big drone. That's a big freaking drone. That was the drone that I bought after I was done with the SEMA. Actually, what happened was I lost the SEMA. Wind took it up. Funny story about the SEMA. I'll tell it real quick. My first SEMA, I flew it. I loved it. I think I got it in October or something. Flew it all the way until January. I was loving to get snow footage, right? And it was snowing and it was a little windy and things just got out of hand and the SEMA blew away. It blew towards the front of the yard. Now I'm in the backyard flying it and I just figure, oh, I'll go to the front yard and I'll find it. By the time I got in the front yard, it was nowhere to be found. I looked everywhere. I looked in the neighbor's driveway real quick. I looked in the street. I looked all over the place. Couldn't find it. And then we went on like a whole rescue mission, search mission, trying to find where this damn thing went. Couldn't find it. And I accepted that I had lost it. Come the springtime, my neighbor sees me flying the 350 in the backyard. And he goes, I got a question for you. He's like, did you lose a drone by chance? And I'm like, yeah, I lost the drone. He's like, what color was it? So I gave him the color and everything. He's like, I'm gonna go get something that I've had. And I'm like, you have my freaking drone. He brings it out. Apparently his wife had just pulled in to the driveway as I lost the drone. She picked it up, brought it inside, and they didn't know what to make of it. He's like, it had a camera on it. He's like, there was no SD card or anything in it. He's like, so I didn't know what it was doing, or if it was maybe some government thing. He's like, I don't know. He's like, so I'm like, so you just kept it? He's like, yeah, I just kept it. I'm sorry. He's like,
hey, you were spying on her, man.
Yeah, it's like really funny. So yeah, my SEMA was missing, and then I recovered it.
John, you forgot to hit return to home when it got away, when it's flying away, right?
Oh yeah, because the SEMA GPS, that return to home works great, Ron. That thing doesn't even have altitude to hold.
Right. But that was actually a good thing. But and remember, like that didn't even have that crazy. What did they call that feature to drones about a year later, where you would hit the button, it would come back to you, but it would come generally back in the direction you flew from. But you had to calibrate and point it to get that to work. It was
the one key return.
One key return.
One key return to China is what I call that.
Yeah, one key to China. One key would come back to China. People called it.
Yes, because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Well,
oh my goodness!
Really nice to see everybody in the chat.
Going on for over an hour and a half here. I guess we should start wrapping things up here. If anybody in the panel has anything they want to promote or finish up with, go ahead and we'll go around the panel. John, you have any final thoughts or anything you want to bring up or promote or?
Oh, let me think here. So I got a small little prototype FPV thing that a company sent me. You want to see it? It's a small bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So here, check this thing out. Now it looks dinky, but this is an FPV battery drainer. So you know how you guys can just set the DJI batteries aside, and you don't have to worry about discharging it. Well, this little thing, all you have to do is plug your fully charged FPV battery in it, and in about 3 or 4 hours, it goes to storage charge, and it's good. It's got a pretty beefy heat sink on there and everything. So, I mean, look, I have sometimes come home and had FPV batteries. I'm like, I'll discharge them later. I'll deal with it later. This is really going to be great for me to just plug something in real quick and just let it sit. And then the next day, I'll plug another one in, and I don't have to put them on a charger and manage it. Pretty cool little device here.
Yeah, that is cool. That's
How
awesome.
much is something like that, John?
I don't know what they're asking for
Okay.
it because it's not up yet. It's not up yet.
Very cool device.
Cool little thing. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, question, John. Do you ever run with 2 batteries on yours?
On the Tiny Hawk?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've tried it with one, but for me, it won't even turn on with one. It only goes with the 2. It only works with 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it only works with 2 for me. You know what I want to do with this, Al? I want to cut this connector off and put an XT30 like what's on this one. That's what I really want to do with it.
Yeah.
Because I have a bunch of 450 batteries for this drone here that would work perfect for this one. And then I could just share the batteries between these 2 guys, and it would be way better than this connector. That's what I'm looking at.
Great. Al, you got anything else you want to promote or talk about?
So, I got so much footage coming up, guys, that I'm trying to figure out which one I'm going to work on. I'm going to be finishing up the F8 SE 2020 edition. We got a HDR versus 4K video comparison. What I use is Rocket and Droney to do the comparison. So I don't know if you guys have been shooting with the X8 SE 2020 as the HDR version on 4K. Makes quite a bit of difference. That's what I noticed. And you guys can judge for yourself. I'll put that video out next. And then after that, I strapped the Mavic 2, the Mini 2 on top of the X8 2020 edition and flew them together to do the video comparison. That video's already done. I just haven't published it. And then what we discussed earlier is going to do round 2 of the most powerful drones, which is going to include the Skydio. I'm going to throw the X8 SE in there and the Phantom 4 in there. So we're going to see which one of them has more power. Then, John, you made a pretty good observation. A couple other people did too. That when I start the pull, try not to have that much slack in it when I jerk it off. It might have been Chris, the QC guy, that mentioned it too. But that's one of the things that I'm going to work on to make sure that I just don't jerk it out. Just kind of have a smooth, get the line tight, and then pull it up.
Right, yeah, because I think I had left a comment about how if you're tugging and it's to the point that it's going off in another direction, like in reality, if you try to lift that weight, it's going to be a disaster, because I've put relatively lightweight things on my drone to carry, and it changes it significantly. And the heavier it is, the worse it is. You get this like pendulum-like feel, and it can feel really unstable. It can feel really dangerously unstable.
Yeah, it is, and as we all learned from physics, it's just vector addition, right? So if we got the perfect vector, then we could do the addition just right. But once things start shifting, like we saw in that Xeno Pro, it goes sideways pretty quick,
Yeah, I mean, I never took physics, but I know that if I put something heavy on my drone, it's gonna feel like whoa.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean, as most of you guys have got so much video, you don't know which one you're going to work on, but just basically concentrating on the X8 SE because I just got my hands on it and paid a lot of money for it, and we might as well get some value out of it. But these things here too, I mean, these things here, I'm
fun.
Getting addicted to these things, man.
They're fun,
I do 3 or 4 batteries, and the hard thing about trying to get a video together for one of these guys is you need a cameraman with you, because you can't film because you're flying. You know what I mean?
So Al, you know what? The way I do the reviews for a lot of this stuff is I prefer to just go out, collect the video, and then take something like this back at home to the bench, and then talk about it on the bench. I'll point the camera down to the drone, and I'll just sort of talk about it and throw in the footage that I took to kind of just explain, the flight experience, all that stuff. That way I don't have to worry about having a second guy running a camera, taking pictures of it line of sight. It kind of helps to simplify those kind of rules because it's not always possible to get a second cameraman in there. It's hard enough for me to get a spotter to hide in the bushes every time I go out to fly FPV, right? I mean, he's got to be there. Right. So I have him hide in the bushes, but he can't be manning the camera every time I go out. You got to have a spotter when you fly FPV. So my man's in the bushes off camera anytime you're seeing. So it's a tough spot to hold a camera. You can't be in the bush and getting good angles. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, just go out, get your footage, fly for fun, and then come back and then cut something together. That's the way I do it. I'm working on the review for this one. I had enough footage that I'm happy with, and I'm going to cut something together and get it done. I just have to do the talking part of it.
Well, there you go. That's FPV. How to make an FPV video boot camp or whatever. So
yeah,
I'll be ready to go now.
I'll definitely ping you. So, what's the next step after this? Build your own, obviously. That's where I was headed. I was going to build my own next.
Yeah, so you could build your own one of these. I'll tell you what one of the weaknesses of this is, and it's why a lot of people, unfortunately, if they break them, sometimes they won't opt to fix them. And it's that it's an all-in-one board, right? If anything goes wrong on there, you've got to buy a whole new board, and it's like $60 or something like that. Whereas if you get something that has the components separate, the flight controller and the ESC separate, then you can. It's a lower cost to service it. It's a lower cost. I actually have another one very similar to this size. I could show it to you. Maybe in the after show I'll show it to you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, John. Well, that's it, Ron. Sorry about.
I'm ready out. I'm ready. Marcus, you have anything on the way out the door here?
Yeah, so I've got a couple videos in the works, but what I want to talk about is, we're getting into the winter months now, so there's going to be less opportunity for us all to get out and fly. So if you get a nice day, take the opportunity, get your drone out there. It's going to make you feel good to get out and fly. And the other thing is that we do have the FAA rules coming out in the next week or two. We'll see them, and that'll give us a good idea of what we have to look forward to in the coming years. So, in anticipation of that, we got Christmas coming up. So everybody, think about what drone you're going to get your kids or maybe even your wife. She might like a drone, right? You never know. But other than that, stay safe. We finally got a vaccine getting out there for COVID-19, so we can get past all of that, and then we can all feel a lot better and travel some more and do some things. So on that note, like I said, just stay safe, get out, fly your drones, have fun, and enjoy the holiday season. And we'll see everybody in a week. Ron, to you.
Thank you, Marcus. I want to shout out Wednesday night, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the Coast to Coast Drones Drone Therapy Show. This is support your favorite drone channels this week. So they're always good shows. So if you want your channel shouted out, be in there early and get your links up or whatever. Make it easy for Bill. Get those links up so he can get to them fast and get through as many channels as possible. And
Ron, it's also our season finale as well.
Thank you, Ron, and the big season finale too. So be like a holiday show too. Maybe we'll have some eggnog or something around or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And on my channel, I just put up an unboxing of my replacement Mini Air 2. Mini 2. Sorry, I get these too many 2s around. So look at the little cute little box they sent in or whatever. And this box is so small that I'm thinking that maybe they will sell the Mini 2 as just the drone for people that have the smart controller or whatever, or meant to say the Mavic Air 2 controller, which
exactly. I was thinking they might do that as well for people that need.
So I don't know if this is just a special box for dummies that crash their drone and they have to get a drone back, or this is an actual retail box. It looks like a retail box. But anyways, that video is up, and I will have a flight video from the new Mini 2 come up in a couple days. I've already done the flight. It flies great. I think it flies better than the first one. And real quickly, I got a product in from Start RC. I get a lot of this stuff in. They're sort of like, they got a lot of kind of stuff PJY tech in, but this is a tablet holder for the Mini 2 and Air 2 type controller. So it seems to be really well made. It fits in there tight. The only negative is like my OTG cables isn't long enough to reach around, so I've got to get like a longer OTG cable. But I really like the way it fits. They set this real nice like lanyard for it, and it holds the iPad Mini 5 great. So the only con is this little thing, and I'll have a video out on that probably tomorrow or the next day, and I'll have a link if you're interested. I think it's like $19.99 for the whole kit.
Hey, Ron, here you go.
Oh, thank you, Marcus. Actually, just include that, send that link to me so people can get this and buy the long OTG cable. So that's all I got. Tomorrow night, Bill the Drone Reviewers, 8 p.m., Philly and Ron at 9 p.m. We already covered Wednesday night. I don't know if Fly Zone's still around, but he's got a show 9 p.m. Friday nights now. Art was in here earlier. Art's on Saturday nights, I think, like 7 p.m. my time. Of course, Marcus is on at 3 p.m. on Sundays with the International Drone Seekers every week. We got Lloyd the Grumpy Vlogger Monday night at 8 p.m. every week before this show. And Mark, did I miss anybody's show? I know I did, but
Yeah, I'm cautiously saying you got most of them that I can think of, Ron.
All right. So thanks a lot, everybody in the chat, for joining us. I mean, the comments were just great as always. Everybody contributes in here, questions, comments, corrects us when we say the wrong names of people that left DJI, whatever. You guys are the best. We'll be back next week, and I think we'll have another show before the year's out. So I think we got 2 more shows going. Don't forget the Marco Moore FSU crowd will be with us. Good night, everyone.